Can you hear me?
So we are continuing now the Tuesday program, and we have the pleasure to have David Monciardini from the University of Exeter Business School again here. And but today his topic is sustainable value creation in the circular economy. So David, please, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Yuka. Can I just check whether you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, thank you for having me again after yesterday, and it's a pleasure to actually share some ideas around circular and sustainable economy and how this creates value beyond just economic value. So I think it really fits quite well with with Charlotte's presentation, and Charlotte did, if you want, the heavy lifting of discussing these macro level developments in the debate. What I'm going to do is to focus much more on a micro level understanding of valuation and circular economy. This is the work that I've done with my colleague Laura Rock from the University of Brescia, and this is the work that we've done over a period of at least 4 or 5 years. It's really like a slow burning work that is giving us a lot of satisfaction, but a lot of also challenges. So I'm happy to share this with you as well. I don't know how many of you were here yesterday. Just briefly, I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Exeter Business School. We have a lot of research on circular economy, and I'm going to come back on this in my business school. And I'm really in the right place in that sense, working on circular economy and really being also exposed to a number of debates around the circular economy that are thought-provoking. So when we talk about the circular economy, often the starting point is this butterfly diagram that has been popularized by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. This basically, you can see the butterfly probably. Can you see it? So you see the wings of the butterfly, and at the center is a caterpillar, sort of, in which you have the linear economy that is extracting a lot of material, transforming this to create, products, and then wasting them, often wasting them very, very soon after they have been sold, or after, just making them obsolescent, I guess is the word. And this is a very wasteful economy. Basically, we identify one that is more like a manufacturing wing, let's say, of the butterfly, and the other one is more biophysical, biological materials. You have, a lot of biological and a lot of manufacturing on the other side. This has been a brilliant way of popularizing the circular economy, and it has convinced basically so many people to adopt or try to promote the circular economy. Yet this has been criticized. This has been criticized by many as insufficient, and to some extent providing a unrealistic, idealistic, materialistic, and corporate-driven approach to circular economy that need to be, addressed also from a critical perspective. So this is an enticing idea. With the metaphor of the circle is very powerful. It talks about totality, wholeness, original perfection. It evokes a modernist variant of the myth of the eternal return. So it's a very powerful image, the one of the circular economy. However, the dominant approach to circular economy is criticized because it's not paying attention to what is non-material, what is the political side, the cultural aspect, and the social aspect that have been neglected in the circular economy. So, as you can see in the perfect butterfly, there are no people, there are no conflicts, there are no cultural aspects, and reality is basically flat, you know, and simplify into something that is a simple material reality, and quite a functionalist also vision of reality. And this is not necessarily leading to a sustainable economy. It may lead towards a more efficient economy, but not necessarily sustainable economy that is providing social environmental improvements and well-being. And this is a huge critique of the mainstream idea of the circular economy. So we try to address this question from Courvillec that is asking, what is the circular economy able to do or not able to do, pretending to do, ignoring in the face of these challenges? Is the circular economy more inclusive and just than the linear economy? Would work and ecosystems be more and better valued in such an economy? Or is this circular economy, this circularity, mainly there to squeeze even more out of people and nature? And how is circular value to be calculated, measured, and accounted for? How would we actually know what our economies and societies are becoming more circular? This is a sort of challenge and this sort of question, I think, that we have to be honest and ask ourselves when we talk about the circular economy. And we really reached a reality point, a reality check in the debate about the circular economy. So if you want to summarize this, the key question is how the circular economy fits in our grand challenges, in our idea of Anthropocene, in which the economy, corporations are exploiting, extracting, there is social injustice, there is social conflict, and there is corporate power. Is he rebalancing the power? Is he, reinforcing the most powerful actors? What is it doing? So this is a bit, the question. And as I said, at Exeter, we have the Circular Economy Hub, which is a 30 million research project that's coordinating all the research done by different universities in the UK about circular economy. We also have master classes dedicated to circular economy, and we basically have a large number of, relatively large number of researchers working on the circular economy. There are many researches going on. I'm into different of these researches, but today I want to, because also this was the title, try to discuss in particular the relation between measuring and circular economy. And in that sense, if you are interested in this, there is a huge research gap. There was a call for paper a few years ago pointing out that basically the research on accounting for a circular economy is really scarce at the moment, and to my knowledge, this gap has not been filled. And maybe it's because it's difficult to do this in particular. Maybe some people say it's useless to do that. We don't need new form of accounting to measure for the circular economy. Surely there is a theory-practice gap going on in which we have a lot of initiatives, you can see some here, that try to measure the circular economy, but there is very little academic work around this particular topic. So perspective that intrigues me at the moment and that I'm applying is based on the idea of a sociology of valuation perspective on the circular economy. So the sociology of valuation has been really developed over several decades now, and it centers around the interplay between value and values. Social values are the very fabric of calculation, of rationality, of value in the sense of economic value. There is a performativity that plays a central role as categories of life are not self-standing, natural, or to be taken for granted. So when we talk about financial accounting, as Charlotte did in the previous presentation, we talk about something that is socially constructed and it reflects the values of the time in which we're living, but is also performative. So it's also transforming our value and acting towards reinforcing certain values over other values. So we have to be into this sort of social mechanism in order to understand these valuation processes. And so these most of the literature is around how performance management systems drive behavior. So if you measure what you measure, no, the typical sentence that we use in management is what gets measured get managed. Okay, so if you measure in a certain way, then people will value and will manage, will be able to manage something. The less of attention has been given to other side of the coin. So how alternative performance systems emerge, driven by values practices and value chain. And we found particularly interesting the two concepts highlighted by Vatten that create a distinction between what is valorization, so giving worth and giving value, and evaluation, which is judgment and assessment of value. So in the English language, we tend to conflate the two. There is no real valorization separate from evaluation. We just talk about evaluation, basically. In many other languages, including Italian, which is my language, but also French, there is a difference, and we use the word valorization much more than we do in the English language. But obviously, the English language is also the language of accounting at the moment, because all accounting standards are made in London. So that's an interesting point to make. It's also a cultural difference. So by considering valorization as the other phase of evaluation, Vatten embeds assessment metrics and accountability process into categorization and legitimation dynamics. That's a bit our theoretical framework. And we apply this to the case of Cauto, which is a social cooperative operating in the circular economy in the north of Italy, in one of the most polluted areas of Europe. And it has 413 employees, so it's quite a large, relatively large organization to be a social enterprise. And it has received many awards with that capacity to combine environmental, social, and economic value creation. So it was interesting for us to use this case. What we did 20 interviews with them over an extended period of time. Probably now we are around 25, I think. And it's been a longitudinal qualitative study in which we took, to them and we analyzed them quite extensively over time. Starting from 1995, we even read the diaries of the founder that give us his diary, when he set up this organization. And we had participatory participatory observation, a participatory observation of the organization inside. My co-author was working inside the organization. We had a focus group to talk with the employees about, how they feel about working there, what sort of practices do we see. And I'm gonna skip the analysis of the data here, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the contribution that that we found in our study. And this is still preliminary work. So based on our finding, we propose a more general process model of organizational sustainability valuation practices that entails three components that are interrelated: values, evaluation, and valorization. This study contributes to redirect attention to the effectiveness of measuring sustainability by showing a pathway towards a more situated, relational, and action-based approach to valuation. I'll give you an example of a quote from one of our interviews that explain, how this valorization process works. So when one arrived, he was given this document. This idea of not wasting was instilled into me, of valorization, but also eating together instead of eating alone, because you simply waste less, was preached to me. The statutory principles, I don't know how to call them, are very rooted. So this is an example of, and we keep hearing this idea of valorizing. And this valorizing is not really evaluating something, but something that is interiorized and that gives value to, and worth, to things that are worthless and people that are considered like worthless, and give them new value. And after this, you have evaluation methods that follow this sort of valorization process. But we found that the valorization process comes first, and then you construct measures and evaluation processes on the basis of your valorization process. And it's important to say that here we talk about both goods, so literally waste that is valorized, things that people see are worthless, and people, because the social cooperative employ marginalized individuals that work in this cooperative, and there is a lot of attention to them to give them new opportunities and to give them a better life, basically. And what we found to be revelatory was the underlying performativity of the values in framing and shaping evaluation and valorization processes. And this emerged as an hybrid accountability process in which we don't have the economic and the social, we don't have the environmental and the economic, but it's really an hybrid process in which the economic serves the social and serve the environmental. We also found a form of mutual and lateral accountability, which is not measuring, but it happened before measuring in a sort of relational accountability within the company. And there is an element of managing without measuring that we found interesting, or valorizing without or before evaluating, which seems to stand out of our data. So the question is, does one need measuring to produce social environmental improvements? Does one need to count it for it to count? So our conclusion is that there is too much emphasis on accounting and measuring, and too little on valorizing and values. And we need a more dynamic approach to value. And this is also something that came out of this study, which I found it was really interesting. We found that these resonate with ideas of measure that are more ancestral almost, and are more linked to the original meaning of the word measuring. So the original idea of the word, the original meaning of the word measuring in Greek, metron, can be translated as limitedness, boundaries, a feeling of where is your limits. And it wasn't something that you measure with a stick, but it's something that you feel and you experience with the mind. Okay. This actually, I found interestingly, exists in so many cultures. Like, for instance, Kauto was inspired by the Buddhist idea, then popularized by Gandhi, of being measured and live within your limits. Or I'm sure that in Sweden, I don't remember now exactly what is the word, but there is a strong concept of living within your limits. So the underlying ideas of this is also that our modern capitalist system pushed us to abandon this idea of the limits and to go limitless, and to think that there is infinite growth, that we don't have boundaries. But I think the most important thing we need to do is not to measure sustainability with a stick, but is to think about debates around where is the limit and where is the measure that we need to adopt in order to be sustainable. And then the measure will follow after we change and we acquire this sense of the limits and this sense of the measure. So this is really a call for rethinking and in a way rediscovering ideas of limits that are actually very important. Charlotte mentioned the debate around degrowth and around understanding the limits of the planets. And I think that's really the work that needs to be done, not really like measuring or creating yet another measurement standard of sustainability. Okay, I'm gonna stop, maybe I'm gonna stop here. I had a few other slides to. I'm just gonna check with Eleanor and with Yuka whether you want me to continue for a few minutes. What is the best?
You have 5 minutes, so I think you can continue. So
then the second thing, the second half of this, is we came out with in this paper that I shared with you actually to read. We came out with the concept of the social and solidarity circular economy that comes out of the case of Kauto. So what is our argument is basically that it's not necessarily, it's not enough to, again, just adopt a new measurement. You need to adopt new forms of governance for the social and solidarity circular economy that are more democratic, deliberative, and so on. So going back to what Charlotte said, I agree with her that it's not enough to adopt a new taxonomy or a new form of measuring. You need to change more deeply the organization of corporations. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So in our case, we found particularly interesting the governance system of Kauto, which is more democratic, more participatory. And we don't think that a real sustainable circular economy can emerge without changing the governance of our business. And this is the sort of model that characterizes Kauto. And is really like a cross-sectoral participatory network model in which you can find input from local non-profit organization. They work with municipalities. They work also with profit organization and with mutuals. and they are able to talk to all of them because in Kauto there are all these elements. Really, what we call in business an hybrid organization. That's as element of public interest. You can see here as element of a pure capital, if you want, and profitable. It's a very profitable organization. It has also element of mutual interest in being a cooperative. I think the future is hybrid. And I think we really have to rediscover and re-understand the power of hybrid organization in solving some of the challenges that we're facing at the moment. And we oppose the dominant idea that circular economy should be driven by large corporations like Nestlé or H&M, that at the moment, often identify as good example of circular economy. And we say that there is also another model that has not been studied enough, which is this social and solidarity circular economy. And I'm going to finish by saying that when we studied Kauto, we thought we were looking at an extraordinary, unique model. And then we discovered that actually there are hundreds of Kautos around Europe. There are many in the UK, there are many in France, in Italy, in Spain. Many organizations that try to combine the valorization of people with the valorization of material waste. But, this has not been studied. And I think the next step for us is really to understand a bit better, what's going on and how many of them, how they operate, how they transform society. This is actually, if you're interested, the umbrella organization that at the European level basically support all these organizations called Reuse. And it's interesting to see this quote in which they say the circular economy must learn from the social economy and cooperative across civil society, policy, industry, science, and education. And I think really we can learn a lot from this social and solidarity economy to have a more sustainable circular economy. Thank you. I don't think it wasn't too much, but I'm obviously this is still developing as a research, and I want to give you some insights about valorization, evaluation, and values and value, and what sort of debate we are having beyond the typical debate about how to measure sustainability and how to account for sustainability.